Hello, it's Shauna here with Handy Quilter. We're live. We're going to play a little bit on the long arm today. So go ahead and comment. We want to know that you guys are here watching. I do have someone watching the comments, and we do have a giveaway planned. So get your comments in early. We're going to be doing a giveaway for a $50 gift card to Handy Quilter. So you can use it on the website to get anything on the website. We have rulers, we've got accessories, like if you need any new feet for your long arm, you could use it for that. So how you get entered for the giveaway is you're going to do hashtag Quiltfest. You have to say hashtag. So that's the little like pound sign, has to be hashtag Quiltfest. And that's here in the feed. You're going to put it in the comments here so that we can see you guys are there and we'll get you entered into the giveaway. I am just loading a quilt really fast while we get a couple of people on. And this is, I already basted it and then I decided to move it. So I have my project already basted at the top edge. So when I show this to you, that's why you're going to see they're already kind of connected. Or I'll hold it out so you can see. So I have my batting and my backing, and then this is my quilt top. Essentially, it's not actually a quilt today. We're working on something different. But I already have this basted here together. So it's going to be a little bit heavier to pin it on than it normally is. But I'm showing you this because you can actually take quilts on and off the frame all the time. If you have projects, so I do a lot of custom quilting and I do it for a lot of customers. So if I'm doing a lot of custom quilting and I have like a really big custom quilt, I sometimes will take it off my frame and put on another quilt that needs to get done faster. And this is how I do it. I have it already basted. I make sure to baste the whole quilt top if I'm taking it off. That's something that you should be aware of. If you're putting a quilt off and on the frame a lot, you need to have the top basted, the sides basted, the bottom basted, but you should also do basting stitches straight through the entire project. And that helps hold everything together so that when you put it back on the frame, you're ready to go. We have a couple of different projects we're doing today, so you're going to want to stay tuned. For this segment, we're actually going to be doing a tote bag, which I'm super excited about. I do a lot of small projects on the long arm because it's fun to see them come together really fast. I'm one of those quilters or sewists that really struggles with projects that take a long time. I like to have things done quick so that I can enjoy the fruits of my labors, I guess you could say. So I'll show you the sample that we're working on. Let me get this pin in and then I'll show you my bag. I put it off to the side over here. Oh, right here. Thank you. So this is a tote bag that we're going to be working on today, and it's double-sided, and I did it with this bright batik fabric so that it felt kind of beachy. And we're going to show you how to put the handles on directly on the long arm. I built this entire bag directly on the long arm. The only thing that I didn't do on the long arm was this binding on the top edge. This is the only thing that I did on my regular sewing machine. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this today. And, oh, that's not true. I did two things on my domestic sewing machine. I boxed the seams. So let me take out all of this stuff. I really am using it as a bag. So this is what we're using for our handles. I've got a couple of my notions. I carry my own little notions around. Got fabric in here. I've got a lot of stuff. You guys, I'm serious. I make tote bags all the time on the long arm. I'm going to turn this inside out to show you how I did it. And then we'll show you on the actual machine. We're going to do all this fun stitching. So I boxed my pleat, boxed my corners, box pleats. You guys, if I'm saying it wrong, you got to comment. You got to tell me. So you can kind of see this looks a little bit funny. What I've done is after I've sewn and I turned it into just like a regular square, you take this and you lay it flat on a mat where you can mark it. And I came in 3.5 inches from this corner, and I used a ruler and kept a straight line from the ruler on this seam. And then I marked right here. And I purposefully didn't trim this so I could show you guys how I do this. But if you go 3.5 inches in, we'll give you the dimensions that we're doing on the bag today. If you want a more narrow bag, you can only go, 1.5 inches or 2 inches in and cut a smaller box, corner here, and that will give you more of a thin square bag instead of a big boxy square bag. I wanted this bag to be kind of big and boxy. So when I put my hand in it like this, you can see it's got a good amount here so that it can be a big boxy bag. I wanted it to be like that so I could fit beach towels in it. That was the goal, a beach towel bag. So, and then the other thing that we're going to talk about is doing ProStitcher designs. So this design here, this is actually an edge-to-edge design. I'm going to show you today how to take an edge-to-edge design and just take one element out of it and put that here. And then on the other side of the bag, we've got some really cute fishies here. And these are designs that you can actually get from the ProStitcher website. So if you have ProStitcher already, these designs are available on ProStitcher.com. You can buy them in a bundle and all of the fish came together. But this design here on this side, this is a separate edge-to-edge design. This one is called tessellation. So we're going to go ahead and finish pinning on and then we can get started. The pins that I'm using are also available on the Handy Quilter website. These are the really nice long, they're kind of like corsage pins. I love to use them when I'm pinning my projects on because I can take nice big chunks, you know, big bites of fabric so that I don't have to spend as long pinning. But it's also hard to pin and talk at the same time. So go ahead and comment. We want to make sure everyone is commenting to get entered to win a $50 gift card to Handy Quilter. And you just have to say hashtag Quiltfest. When you enter, you do have to put the hashtag in. So when you write your comment, make sure and type hashtag Quiltfest, all one word, no spaces. Perfect. And I do have someone who is reading the comments for me because the screen's a little far away for me. So if you have questions, shout them out. Well, you can shout at your screen, but maybe type them in so I actually get to know what you're asking me. We can talk about a lot of the different things I'm doing today. We have a question. Okay, go ahead.
Can I use soft and stable with this bag?
Yes. Okay. Lorraine asked, can I use soft and stable with this bag? Yes, Lorraine, you can. So I've done it with bags before. So for those of you that don't know, soft and stable is kind of like a thicker, almost like a foam type of insert you can do. And it's very similar to batting, but it's thicker and it'll give you a much more supported feel to the bag. Sorry, I had to walk over here to put down my ratchet stop. So I'm just adjusting my leaders here so that we can have everything nice and smooth as we do this project. There we go. I like to have everything really smooth so that I don't run into any issues with, oh, it looks like there we go, perfect. Just trying to get this loaded straight. Now, because I had it loaded or pinned already, I'm going to show you guys a little trick that I have. So I had this project loaded. I unloaded it and brought it here to the frame and I'm loading it again. You can see this side is more tight. It's more taut and this side is drooping down a little bit. There's a couple ways that I can kind of work this around to make it lay flat. And when we do a project, we do want it to be nice and flat so that we have the least likelihood of wrinkles in our project. And if you have a nice flat project, you won't have tension issues. So what I do is I come and I rub my hand on the really tight side. And you can see as I'm rubbing my hand, this side got a lot looser. And so it's helping that I can actually come around and just pull it a little bit, get it where I need it to be, and then I can tighten it up again. The other thing that you can do, which is going to be hard to show on camera, so I'll just kind of explain it. We have hand wheels on the ends of our poles that you can actually rotate back and forth to pull your project forward and then pull your project back again. And that will help smooth out all of the excess too. So this will be good enough for what we're doing today. I do have the top basted, like I said. I'm going to show you how we baste down the side, moving my pin bowl. Okay, I'm going to come up here with my machine and I already have some really pretty blue thread in. I'm going to be using the blue thread because I wanted it to pop on this part of the project. It'll stand out really nicely. So I go to the top left of my project. This is how I do a basting stitch. I drop my needle down and I pull the machine away, and that pulls up my bobbin thread just like this. And once I have my bobbin thread pulled up, then I can start stitching again. I'm going to Get my thread tails out of the way. And on my screen, I am working in ProStitcher. So on my screen, I can show you that I'm using the basting stitch already. Can you see that on my screen? Right here. Okay, so this is deselected when I push the button. This is the ProStitcher program itself. So that green B is for basting, and I can just switch over and push that button. It's as simple as that to get my basting stitch to start. And then I just come down like this and stitch on the left side all the way to the bottom. I'll do a little tie off. And then I like to swing away and I pick up the top thread with my finger, come back forward, and push the button to put the needle down and the needle up, and then I swing away again. And then I can,
Hey, Shauna,
we have another question. Go ahead.
Are you always supposed to baste the entire quilt before you start quilting it?
So we're being asked if we should baste the entire quilt before you start quilting it. I, most of the time, baste as I go. The only reason that I would baste the entire quilt is if I'm doing a lot of really intense custom quilting, or if I'm taking the quilt off and on the frame. That's an excellent question. So you can see, as we've done this to get ready for this project, I basted the top edge and then I basted the sides, and now I'm actually going to start quilting. And it's because when you're doing a project as you go like this, it's totally fine to just baste the sides as you advance the project. So that's a really good question. Okay, I'm going to come and do some stitching in the ditch. I have my gears turned on in ProStitcher. That gives my machine a little bit of weight to it as I move it around, and it does help give me a really nice straight line. So I'm going to show you on one side. I'm just going to do it free motion with my gears turned on to do straight lines on this square. And then on this square, I'm going to show you how we use ProStitcher to stitch in the ditch for us. And hopefully you'll be able to see a big difference. Yes, so this square right here, I'm going to be doing hand-guided straight lines with my long arm. And then this square of fabric here, we're going to use ProStitcher to show how we can actually stitch in the ditch using ProStitcher. So, and when I am doing stitching in the ditch without any rulers, just doing free motion stitching in the ditch, excuse me, I definitely try to keep my gears on because it does give me a little bit of weight, so I'm able to keep the line a little bit straighter. However, you can see my square here is a little bit wonky, so it'll be hard for me to keep an exactly perfect straight line that follows this because the block itself is not perfectly straight. And I like to show you guys these things so that when you're working on a project at home and you come up against this, you'll understand that it's not just you. Sometimes we're working with imperfect seams. That's very normal. Okay, I'm going to move this down here and then you can see the difference. So I'm letting the machine kind of be the guide for my straight lines. And you can see here, it's not, oh, that looks really good on screen. I can see here that I kind of wobble a little bit because the block itself is not a perfectly straight seam. And then up here, there's a tiny, tiny bit that you can see where I had a straight line here and the machine stayed straight and my block seam had moved. So this is why it's important when you're learning how to use the machines, you have to understand that it's, you have to have, you know, if you have a little bit of a wonky block, you have to know how to work within the block. And this one's going nice and wonky too. That's perfect. That's exactly how I want to show you guys. I hope you can see this one a little bit better. So you can see the stitch line right here. When you are doing stitch in the ditch, you want to be as close to on the stitch, like on the ditch as you can, right? So I'll show you now how we do it with ProStitcher. And this is not bad, right? As I'm doing all of these projects, I love to do tiny projects, right? So I'm doing this tote bag. As I'm doing it, I'm okay with having a little bit of wonkiness or thread showing. We have another question. Let's do it. No, there is not. So someone asked, is there a reason the bungee side clamps are not attached? It's mostly because I didn't know if the camera would show it. Is it okay if I put it on? Let's do it. Let me talk to you about the side clamps. That's actually a great segue, you guys. So these bungee side clamps, I have 2 of them on this frame. If you have a Moxie, so something with a smaller throat space, our frames come with just one bungee clamp. And it's just because you have a smaller throat space, you don't have to have as much support. So these bungee side clamps bring up a good point, like why do we have them? What do we use them for? They help keep our quilt really stable. It's really similar to when you have a project in like an embroidery machine and you have to have something hooped. You want to have the entire outside edge supported. So that's what these are for. When I'm doing really small, simple projects, I don't always put them on, but if that happens, you need to be aware that there is always the possibility that you will get some ripples or wrinkles in the backing fabric. If your quilt top looks great and you're stitching on the quilt top, you really might have wrinkles on the bottom and not know it when you don't use your side clamps. It's happened a couple times, honestly, on some of my quilts where I'm like, oh, hey, I don't need the side clamps. This is a fast project. It'll be fine. And then I end up with wrinkles and I have to fix my problem, you know. So we do have, in case you guys are interested, we do have some upgraded clamps on the sides of the frame too. So if you have a frame and it's been a little bit hard for you to pop the clamps, the rope in and out, let me show you guys this. It really is this easy that I can just pop it out, this simple. So this is something that you can upgrade on your frame if you already have a frame. This is one of my favorite things. As soon as I played with it, I actually bought one to put on my frame too. So, and it goes on just that easy. So you can pop it out and then put it right back on. So that was a really good question. We have another question. Go ahead.
What is the best needle for the Amara?
Someone is asking, what is the best needle for the Amara Handy Quilter? You're just going to actually choose your needle based on your thread. So let's take a second to talk about thread really fast. This thread cone that I have here, this is a So Fine thread. It's by Superior Threads, and I absolutely love Superior Threads. I use them on probably 98% of my projects. I really, really love the product. This one is So Fine, and I love this one because it is a trilobal polyester, but it's a really low lint. So that's why I use it most of the time. And it's also a really nice weight. It's right in between. Like it's not too thick, not too thin, right? It's the Goldilocks weight. So this is going to tell you on here, when you use your thread, you're supposed to use a needle determined by the thread. So size of needle. With So Fine, I know that you're supposed to use a size 16 needle. You can use a size 18 needle. When you're having problems, you should consider changing your needle. So with batik fabric, we are stitching on batik fabric today. Batik fabric is actually woven because it's hand dyed. The way that it's woven can actually be tighter. And so as the needle goes into the fibers of the batik fabric, it can actually almost shear the thread and so if you're going through batik fabric and you're having a lot of thread breakage, you actually need to go up a needle size so that you have a bigger groove on the front of the needle for the thread to go into so that it's protected more as it goes through the batik fabric. So other than that, I would just get whatever needles that you have at your local long arm dealer. You can get needles online. I always go with Gross Beckert. They're my favorite. They work really, really well in my machine. You do have to make sure, I'm doing this with ProStitcher. I'm talking as I'm going. I have to show you guys how to do this. You do have to make sure when you buy needles that you're doing round shank needles. So some may or may not know we have round shank needles and flat shank needles. That's where the back of the needle is flat or if the needle is entirely round. Our long arms use round shank needles. So, okay, we're going to switch over to our ProStitcher screen here so that I can show you guys what it is that I'm doing here. So on my screen, I have these orange crosshairs. And as I'm moving my orange crosshairs, you can see as I'm moving my machine, my orange crosshairs are moving. So I move my machine here on my quilt project. I move the machine up to the very top of my block that I'm going to be stitching in. And I'm going to, on my ProStitcher screen, I'm kind of going back and forth here, so you'll have to follow along. On my ProStitcher screen, I'm going to my area tab. And I can create an area a couple of different ways. I'll hit the 2-corner button, and that tells me I've created a point here, and then I can come down here to the bottom right, and I can hit the 2-corner button again, and that gives me a nice big square that shows me exactly where my like my area is my block that I'm working on the quilt. So I'm doing this to show you the area so that I can come up here and check this corner. So I'm on the project, I'm watching my needle to come to this seam, and it actually on my screen, when I look at my screen, it lines up really, really well. So I'm kind of using this pink area to help me judge if I want to stitch this way. So now here, I can see on my quilt project, my needle is where I want it to be. But when I look at my screen, my crosshairs are slightly off from my pink area on the right-hand side. So all this tells me is that my block is not perfectly square, which I kind of knew going into it, right? So there's another way for me to actually stitch this out. This is on the left-hand side. You can see there's even more of a gap there. So what we're going to do on our ProStitcher screen, I'm going to move my machine back up to the top left of my project where my quilt block is. I'll go to the ProStitcher tab, and then I'm going to hit the record button. And this is where we get to play with something called mark. So here on the right-hand side, there's a button that has a diamond on it. That diamond button coincides with my handle on my ProStitcher, or on my long arm. That coincides with the ProStitcher button. I'm trying to say it all at the same time. So I'm going to touch the ProStitcher button that says mark, and then I can move my machine, and now I'm looking at my project, and I'm watching where I want my needle to be, and I'm going to hit mark again. And I can use my handlebars with the diamond button, or I can touch it on the screen to put the button, to put the mark where I need it. So I actually am going to do a couple of marks because on this right-hand side of the block, I'm going to do a couple of points because it's kind of wonky, right? We have a block that's not perfectly square. There we go. So when you look at the screen, you can see it's kind of wobbling a little, that black line. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Come on, right there. You can see that I have a pink line and a black line. So that tells me the black line is where it's actually going to stitch. That tells me that it's really wonky. Oh, we got another question. Go ahead.
Are you lining up your laser point right on the seam or just inside?
That's a great question. Someone asked if I'm lining up my laser point right on the seam or just inside. I'm doing it just barely inside. The only thing that matters is that you're consistent with where you place it. So if you prefer to have it directly on the seam, then just be consistent throughout the entire block. I know a lot of quilters will actually place their laser point as they're putting these areas in. I know a lot of quilters will put the laser point about 1/4 inch in so that it'll create kind of a framed space. Like around here, you'll have a framed space that it stitches out. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this now. I'm going to go to my ProStitcher tab and my quilt button, and then I'm going to hit run. And this is going to stitch for us so that we have a stitch in the ditch around our block. And then we get to start playing with our cute sea life creatures. So I hold my tails and then snip the thread after the machine has moved out of the way. Let's go ahead to the screen where we can watch the quilt. Brianne. Thank you. So now we get to watch it stitch out. This is the best part of owning a ProStitcher, is watching it do all the stitching. Okay, I'm going to take this minute to remember, you guys, we're doing a giveaway, a gift giveaway for a $50 gift card to Handy Quilter. If you want to get entered into that giveaway, you just need to comment with #Quiltfest.
And then can you give a reminder about July 1st?
Yes, let's talk about this. There's a couple other things we want to talk about. We have free shipping on machines for this week. So if anybody buys a machine, oh yes, we got to put that in too. We are going to do free shipping on any machines that are purchased this week. So just a little heads up, minor thing. Prices are going up. July 1, prices are going up, which is why we're doing this. We want to make sure you guys are aware so that you can get a machine now. And so we're doing free shipping on machines this week. And we're also having a sale on accessories. So it's 15% off. You just have to use the code HQQF. And we want you to call when you come, like when you're trying to get your machine, you need to call us directly. Do we have a number you're going to put up for them? Okay, the number is up so that you guys can call. we want you guys to call us to get the machine so you can get the deal, right? So free shipping on machines this week. We are having a 15% off on accessories with the code HQQF because prices are going up July 1st. So keep all that in mind. And don't forget, you got to comment #Quiltfest to get entered for the $50 gift card. Okay, now that we have our area right here, we're going to tell the machine, we're going to tell ProStitcher to stitch out a little grid pattern so that we can have little sections to play with our fishies. So I'm going to go to File on my ProStitcher screen and do Design. This is where the design library is. And we have a whole bunch of designs that come already loaded with ProStitcher. For the price of ProStitcher, I've actually had some people explain that you have all of the designs that are included when you're buying designs. Most designs are about $15 when you're going to purchase a design individually. And so it ends up being a screaming good deal because of how many designs are included. I want to say it's over 800. It's got to be more than that. Over 800. Yep. Okay. So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of scrolling through the designs. These are the designs in the PS Designs block library. So these are not edge to edge designs. These are what fit just in a block. And I'm going to come down to this one. I just had it and then I moved past it. Oh, maybe I went too far. Look at all these. There's a little turtle. We could put a turtle in here. Earlier, I was talking to someone, I was talking to them about what I'm doing on the project. And they're like, you should totally put a shark in there. But I didn't come with a shark. But we have a turtle. Okay, right here. There it is. I did go past it. This one is called Grid Square 2x2. So I'm going to open it up. And you can see that it comes a lot smaller. I'm just going to move it over with my finger. But I can resize it to where I need it to fit, right? So because I want to be pretty exact with what I'm doing, I'm going to change my area because my area we already know doesn't fit this square perfectly. So I'm going to go to the area tab and clear it. On the right-hand side, we have a clear button. And if you have questions while I'm running through all of this, please drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go through ProStitcher. I'm just going to hurry and set up an area, but I'm going to use multi-point this time. So that is right next to our two corner button. I'm going to do multi-point, and then I'm going to move the machine to each corner so that I can create an area that fits better. So I'm actually going to come and do a point in the middle because I know that this block is wonky. And you can see that it automatically creates it a triangle. It's trying to close my area for me so that I'm able to put designs in the area. So if you start going and you're like, wait, I don't want a triangle, that's okay. Keep going. It will work out, I promise. So I'm just kind of adding extra points in the corners, or sorry, in the sides of the long sides to make sure it fits where I want it to. And that is pretty perfect. So I'm going to go to modify now so that I can tweak our grid that we have here. There's a couple ways that we can do this, and I'll show them to you. We're going to do skew first. If I do skew, on the right-hand side, I'm going to push skew, and it goes really, really wonky. That's because I did a multi-area, and so when you're doing, that's more than 2 points, sorry. Because at first we did the 2-corner area. That's when I would use this first skew option. So I'm going to turn that off. Luckily, it undoes everything. We also have an undo button when you're playing in ProStitcher, so don't be afraid to try things out. So next I'm going to push the border skew button, and that's going to make it fit perfectly within the multi-point border, within the multi-point area. So I can do it this way, or I can take off the border skew. It takes us back to this smaller size, and I can actually just make it fit almost as if it's framed inside of the block. So I'm going to measure with my machine. I'm putting my machine on the left-hand side of the block, and I'm going to hit my measure button. There's a ruler here. Oh, that is the ruler, wrong button. So the ruler, you can see I just pushed the ruler and it has all of my numbers at the top of the screen. So we're actually going to turn that one off and do the measure button, which is just under the baste. So I push that to turn it on, and then I move my machine head with the needle. I move it over to the right-hand side, and this is telling me it's about 11.5 inches wide. So I just needed a number, right? So I'm going to turn it off again. And now I'm going to resize. Here we go. Right here, resize, and I'm going to turn on my width. And then I have a button here on the right-hand side that I lock it, so it makes it the height and the width adjust at the same time. So I think I'm going to try at 11 and see how big that is. And then I'm going to center it. So I have an align button under the modify tab at the top. And then on the right-hand side here, we have this center button. Yep, we're going to back it up and redo. You guys, I use ProStitcher all the time, and I love how good things work out. So if I'm going too fast, it's okay to be like, hey, back up. I want to try this again, right? So I'm going to clear everything. Well, clear the design. We'll cut the design. Good. Now I'm going to open it again. File, design. The cool thing about this, because I just opened my grid square 2x2, it's right here under my drop down that I can open it up again. So we're going to bring this down here so I can kind of compare sizing, right? And I measured on my screen, so I know that my block is about 11.5 inches. So I'm going to resize it by going to my modify tab. And then there's a resize button. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, I have my width and my height that I can adjust it by. I'm going to do it with the width, but I'm keeping my lock button on. It's turned on so that it will adjust the width and the height at the same time. So I'm going to put in 11 inches down here at the bottom. I'm just typing in 11, so it'll show me what it looks like to have it be 11 inches. And then I'm going to align it so I can see if I want to tweak it a little bit more. Go to the align button at the top of your modify tab. And then on the right-hand side, there's a button that says center. So we're going to center the design. And so that shows me, yeah, that's pretty great. I could even go a little bit smaller so that I have more of a border on the outside of my design. So we'll go to the resize button. And I can just hit this minus button here on my right-hand side of the screen and bump it down just a little bit to see where I want it to be. I think that's great. We'll do that. So that ends up being 10.63 inches that I'm doing in this block here. So I've made a lot of changes to the design on my screen. So I'm going to hit ProStitcher. On ProStitcher, I'm going to hit baseline. This is what you hit before you stitch anything out. You always hit baseline because you want to make sure that the design doesn't have any extra commands within the instructions. You know, in the software for ProStitcher, it makes it stitch so much better. So we're going to hit the ProStitcher tab. I have my quilt button highlighted, and now we can get it to quilt out this nice grid for us. Do we have any questions while I have this stitching out?
What made you decide to get ProStitcher?
What made me decide to get ProStitcher? My answer might be slightly different than other people's. So I have a lot of little kiddos at home, and I wanted to be able to quilt while also being able to help my kiddos. And so I love on ProStitcher that I can set a design and let it run and then go help the kiddos. You know, I can go and make dinner or change a diaper, whatever I need to do. And works really smooth for me because the machine is working for me and I still end up with a beautiful quilt when I'm done. There we go. So this design has a little bit of back stitching so that it can move around. You find that with most designs, there is a little bit of back stitching. All right, here we are on the last round. Awesome. So you can see it's doing these really small stitches. That we call those tie-off stitches, and that helps so that you have a really secure stitch at the end of your design. So that sometimes people get worried, you know, how do I tie off my thread? The machine is already doing it for you, which is really cool. So what I'm doing here, I do this force of habit, you know, not even thinking about it. So I swing away, I pick up my thread and hold it, and then I bring the machine back to where I finished stitching, and I push the button on my left handlebar, needle down, needle up, and then I swing away again, and it pulls up my bobbin thread, and then I can snip. And I have my scissors here on the magnetic collar on my machine. So here on this side, my scissors just hook on right there, which is great, especially for any lefties out there. This is really nice that you can just grab it with your left hand. Because I'm right-handed, I have to do a little twist here, which is fine. I love having my scissors where I need them. So great thing to keep in mind. Now, we're going to do something really, really fancy with ProStitcher where we leave this design on our screen, and we're going to come up with other designs and put them right on top of that design. And then we can tell ProStitcher to just stitch one thing out at a time. So we're going to do design open. And I have these designs on a jump drive. I've have it plugged in the back. So if you end up having other designs you want to get that don't come with ProStitcher, you can just bring them over and have them ready to go. So you can see right here, I have all my little fishies, and I like to, let's start with the, there's so many great options. Let's do the coral. That one's really fun. So this coral, if I kind of drag it over here, you can see that it's too big, but I kind of like that it fills the whole space. So I'm going to shrink it, but I'm not going to shrink it the same way I did the grid. So go to the Modify tab, and I'm going to resize. Oh, select. Hold on. There we go. So you saw me tapping the screen here. I had to make sure that design I'm working on is the one that's selected. And if you're having a hard time selecting whatever design, because again, I have multiple designs up right now. Down on the bottom, I have this little X with an arrow right here at the very bottom. That deselects everything. And then I can come and tap the screen to find the one that I want. And it's going through because I have multiple designs, right? Okay, so I have my coral selected. I'm going to go to the resize button at the top of my ribbon, my Modify ribbon. And right now the lock is turned on the right-hand side. I'm going to select it so it turns off. And then I'm going to shrink the height. I don't want to shrink everything. We're going to do just the height, and then I'll move it down. I think I need to do a little bit more, a little smaller. Okay, now though, it's looking a little bit squat. And I have to think, okay, maybe we'll do a little bit more narrow. But this is the cool thing about it. I can kind of eyeball it and tweak it how I want to have it placed. Okay, I am loving that. So we're going to stitch that out. But first, baseline. So let me do, my baseline is grayed out. So hold on, I have to have these other things. So I hit my button at the very bottom, which deselects everything. And then on the right-hand side, you can see my workspace. That lists all the different designs that I have open right now. So I'm going to select the Sea Life Tube Coral so that I'm only working on one design, and then I can hit baseline on the left-hand side because I've saved all of the changes that I just made with it. And now we're going to stitch it out. I like to move the machine over to where I'm going to be stitching. You don't have to move the machine because the machine will orient to where its start point is. But I tend to be one of those people that wants to get projects done really fast. So I move the machine there for it. Oh, okay. It's because I'm pulling on the cord. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit ProStitcher tab, and then I'm going to hit my quilting button is selected, and then I'm going to hit the run button. It does pop up with a bunch of settings. I have them set how I want them to, but it pops, this screen, this window comes up every time just to make sure when you are stitching, you can make sure that, you're going to have the pull-up setting that you want to have, all that kind of stuff. So it pauses for me to get my thread out of the way, and then I hit the resume button, and it's going to stitch out this coral for us. Now, I could have done the same thing where I have the height and the width locked so that it would stitch, it would resize everything together. It's just a personal preference on that one. So as we're stitching this out, if we jump over to the ProStitcher screen, you can actually see where it is stitching and where it's headed next. Let's jump to the ProStitcher screen really fast, just for a second. You can see where it has the orange-yellow lines. Those are the places it's already stitched. And then it's going to come back and stitch over the black ones that we've missed. So let's jump back over to watch it stitch out, because this really is the best part. This is one of the reasons I love ProStitcher. Something else I love about ProStitcher is circles. When you have a machine, it will stitch perfect circles every time. And when I'm doing a lot of ProStitcher, I am always putting circles in just because the circles look so amazing. So the glide foot is the foot that we have on our machine right now. This one you can buy with your $50 gift card, because remember, we're doing a giveaway. So this one is recommended for whenever you're doing edge-to-edge quilting. If you have a quilt that has a lot of really bulky seams, this is a great foot to have. And it does have a metal collar in it. And all of our feet come with a screw as well, so that you can change them out. You don't really need to because you can use the screw that's on the machine, but all of the feet come with a screw as well. And a little bit later today, we're going to be playing with a couple of different feet. So you're going to want to make sure and stick around for the whole day because I am going to be talking about couching. So we're going to switch to do some couching feet, which is really, really fun. Okay. Oh, finishing here. So it's doing the slow stitches at the end. These are our tie-off stitches. And then I swing away, pick up my thread, come back down, needle up, and that pulls up our bobbin thread. Oh, I might have run out of bobbin. That is actually pretty perfect timing. Okay, we're going to show you how we change a bobbin then. And yes, love? What? Up here. I'm going to show it up here. I'll show you how to change a bobbin up here. First, though, so I was using a pre-wound bobbin. This is cardboard on the outside, so I can hold it down low here too. This one is cardboard. It's just how they do the pre-wound bobbins. And I love these because you can just pop it in and be ready to go. You don't have to have anything pre-wound. This one, because it's empty, the cardboard is falling down to the middle, and that's just to show you like how it's built, how it's made. Some people will even take off one of the cardboard sides to stitch. You know, if their machine, how they like to stitch for their tension, if they want to take that off, they can. That's totally acceptable and doable. Let me make sure I've got a bobbin down here. We're just going to do another pre-wound bobbin. So when I'm doing a project, I like to keep the same width of thread in my bobbin. These are also from Superior Threads. These are called Super Bobs, and we've got this fun green color. So I always check my tension when I'm changing my bobbin. I also use my pinky, and I just swipe around the inside here to make sure there's no lint. I'm very careful when I do it. I don't like to use a brush that's too, I do use a brush sometimes, but I'm careful when I do it because there's a spring here inside the bobbin, and we don't want to have that spring pop out. If the spring pops out, you can put it back in, but sometimes it's hard to get it placed. So I tried to just be a little careful. Now, when I put this in, I have my bobbin facing me and the thread tail is coming down on the right-hand side. I pop it in and I put it through this groove here. And then this one, it might be a smidge tight. We'll try that again. So testing bobbin tension on the long arm, you hold it flat in your hand and then you lift the tail. And this is different than a domestic machine. It should lift up on my palm, but not lift out of my palm. And so it's just a smidge tight. So I'm going to adjust that. And I always have all of my little things here close at hand. So I'm using my little screwdriver and I'm going to just loosen it just a smidge. And you do just tiny adjustments when you're doing this because a tiny adjustment is all you need. Apparently I went the wrong way. There we go. Okay. You just need tiny adjustments on this screw. So that is, I went back to where I was. Now I need to go a little bit less. Perfect. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, one more try. I usually do this 2 or 3 times to make sure I'm happy with the tension before I start, because I would much rather know that I have a tension issue at the beginning of a row when I'm quilting than halfway through if I just wasn't paying attention. So every time I change the bobbin, I always check my tension, and I do need to oil the machine too. Anytime I change the bobbin, I'm always oiling it. So that's just a tiny, tiny drop of oil, and every machine comes with it. I'll show you this right here. This is our oiler that comes with the machine. Oh, right there. And it's got this long nozzle so that it's easy to get where you need to oil underneath. So I'm just going to do that really fast.
Shauna, were you using the big or the little screw when you were doing the tension?
Okay, someone is asking which screw I was doing when I was adjusting the tension. I'm going to hold it here so I can show you. Really, really close. I don't know if we can get any closer, so I'm just going to point. So on the bobbin case, the very, very top screw, if you try to adjust the bobbin screw, right there, is that, so, but you got to switch screens on the, there we go. Oh, thank you. I was way high. Okay, so this screw right here, the top screw, is the one that you adjust for the tension. If you try to adjust your the bottom screw, you'll actually take this little plate, this piece off, which you don't want to do. So this top one is the one you adjust. Great question though. We want to make sure we're adjusting the right thing. And if you're adjusting and nothing's happening, then you're probably adjusting the wrong screw. Okay, so I'm just taking out some of the lint down underneath because, you know, we have these machines that move crazy fast. They have a lot of lint that gets accumulated. And anytime I'm changing bobbin, anytime I'm changing my needle, I'm always trying to take out any excess lint just so that I always get really good stitches. And I just do a teeny tiny drop. It's hard to show on screen, so I'm sorry you guys missed it. But you get the exciting event of changing a bobbin. And now we're ready to go. So I did take off one of my side clamps so that I could see easier. So we'll put the side clamps back on. Okay. We just finished over here on our sea coral, and it actually worked out perfect. It is very rare that we have the bobbin run out right at the end of a design. That means this is going to be a great day. I'm really excited. So we're going to pick a different design now. Let's go to our ProStitcher screen so you guys can see. I have under my design library where we were looking at our other designs, the ones that I have preloaded on my jump drive. And I think this time, let's do one of the fish. So let's do the butterfly fish. Remember, this design is available on the ProStitcher website. So if any of you want to get the designs, they're all there. Now, the cool thing to notice, you can see the fish populated where my needle crosshairs are. So if I wanted to be kind of tricky, I can move my needle up to the design on my block and put the needle where I want the fish. And then I can pull the design out again. So File, Tab, the design button, and then I open the butterfly fish and it puts it right in the square where I want it, which is great. Hey, Kim, are you coming to hang out with me?
I am coming to hang out with you. Hey, Shauna, how you doing?
Good. Come check this out. We did the coral.
Oh my gosh,
I
love that.
On the ProStitcher website.
So cute. I love that from ProStitcher Patterns.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
I'm kind of loving it.
Well, I wanted to pop in for a second,
Sure.
see if you needed a breather.
I'm gonna drink some water.
You drink some water and stuff. I'm here because Shauna is doing the all-day thing here. Shauna is the superstar today. She is powering through, sharing so much great information with all of you. So I wanted to pop in for a minute and just do a quick reminder. I've got a couple of important things for you to remember. We have got a price increase coming on July 1. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity, if you've been thinking about buying a machine, to take advantage of that special price right now. Be sure to call the number for the very best prices. And I know that Brianne, I'm looking over here. Brianne, yes, Brianne is putting it. I have a screen right over here so I can see myself. That's what I'm looking at over here. She's going to put the number up there that you can call if you've got any questions about how we can help you get that dream machine in your quilting studio. Another reminder, we have got some really, really, really fabulous prices on ProStitchers right now. So if you have one of our long arms already and you want to add a ProStitcher, we have got some fantastic deals for you. We've also got some really great deals on packages if you're interested, for example, in an Amara 20 with a ProStitcher. So we've got you covered. Once again, I need you to call the number to take advantage of that. And as a super extra bonus for yesterday, today, and tomorrow only, if you call in, we're going to include free shipping to the lower 48. You guys, this is hundreds of dollars you're saving right there. Shipping is not cheap on these machines because they're big. They come on an entire pallet. So this free shipping, we don't do it very often, so you should definitely take advantage of it right now. We've also got a special going on right now on all the accessories on the website. Be sure to use that code HQQF for 15% off accessories. So if you want to add some fantastic rulers or the feet or a horizontal spool pin, you want to buy yourself a pair of batting scissors, you've been waiting for a chance that they go on sale, take advantage of this 15% off. We don't do sales on the accessories and gadgets very often, so you should definitely take advantage of it right now. Okay, so just remember, price is going up July 1st, so now is the time to buy. ProStitchers are on sale. We've got some fantastic deals, and we've got this very special added on there, free shipping to the lower 48. Okay, I wanted to see, Brianne, do you have any questions for me? Everything's good to go. Okay, so don't forget to be sure and stay tuned all day today. I know we're taking a little break at lunch. We'll be back this afternoon with some more fantastic stuff with Shauna, and Shauna's actually going to be back here in just a second. She is sitting down and breathing for a minute. I'm giving her a little break here. And then tomorrow, be sure to join us. We are doing our Long Arm Business Summit. I am super excited about this. I just came from the education studio where I've been emailing back and forth with some of my other fellow educators who are going to be joining us tomorrow. We're going to be talking to you about our journeys becoming long arm business owners, and we'll give you lots of great ideas to either inspire you and say, yes, right now is the time to start my own long arm quilting business, or to say, that is really interesting and I'm glad I learned about it, but maybe not yet. That's always the key word there, is that yet. Okay, I do have a question. What's the question, Brianne? Oh, she's giving me 2 thumbs up. She's giving me 2 thumbs up. All right, well, I think that's all the information I have for you. I'm gonna let Shauna get back to what she's teaching you guys here. She's doing some absolutely fantastic stuff with ProStitcher. I love what you're doing.
We're doing
those colors.
I know, isn't it so summery?
It is so summery and so fun. So I'll let her get back to it with you guys, and then I'm going to be popping in again this afternoon. Okay. Just some chances to give Shauna a chance to breathe and to remind you guys about the great promos we've got going on. So, all right, keep it up.
Thank you.
I'm going to go keep working on what we're planning and doing tomorrow, presenting tomorrow. So
we'll see you. Great. Okay, we're going to stitch this fish. But I did see, I kind of peeked at some of the comments. Someone was asking about Minky. Do you mind if I talk about Minky really fast? So we are going to look not at my ProStitcher screen. We're going to look at the quilts behind me. I am a quilter who loves to use quilts like in real life. I use my quilts. So I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain here. This quilt is backed with Minky. Can we see this behind the machine? Let me move this little. There we go. I'm making it all wonky. Sorry, you guys. So this one is backed with Minky, and this is a very, very fuzzy Minky. This one is, I did a bright red because I wanted it to be patriotic for this pattern. And you can totally quilt with this on the long arm, no problem. I even did the binding in this Minky. I love, love, love having bindings done in Minky. I have a little baby at home, and he actually loves to just hold the blanket binding and he strokes it like this. When he's falling asleep, he just lays like this and pets his blanket. So that has convinced me I'm doing Minky binding on everything. So this one is a long nap, is what you could call it, a long nap, where it has longer fur on the back. This one is also Minky, but this is a very, very short nap on the Minky. So it still feels very soft, but it looks like just a regular fabric, a cotton fabric. So, and this is Tula Pink fabric as well. This whole quilt is Tula Pink, and so when I found out that they had Ladybug Minky from Tula Pink, I had to buy it. So this also has the binding done with the Minky. So I did see some questions about, do we get that back? Okay, saw questions about Minky. So if that answers questions, let me know if there's more questions about the Minky. But I absolutely love long arms because they are incredible workhorses. They stitch through everything. Well, maybe not everything. Concrete. We haven't stitched through concrete yet, have we? But we have people who have done a lot on leather. You can actually do some really cool artistic quilting using the long arm on leather. So anyway, back to these fishes. I'm going to kind of turn this fish a little bit. I want it to be looking like it's swimming down a little. So I'm going to go to the Modify tab on my ProStitcher screen, and I'm going to do a reposition, the reposition button. And then on the right-hand side, it gives me a couple of different elements that I can play with. So I can nudge it. This one is just showing you the different options. I don't nudge these. It's moving just a teeny tiny bit at a time, right? Really, really small. But I can also move my machine put my needle where I want it, and then hit reposition to the bottom left, and it'll jump the fish down to the bottom left of the crosshairs. So there's a lot of different ways. I'm showing you this because there's a lot of different ways to tweak and play with these designs. So I'm going to go to the rotate now. Under the Modify tab, there's a button for rotating. And I'm going to do my custom rotation down at the very bottom. It'll do 3 degrees at a time. So I'm going to kind of pop that a little bit, hit it a few times. I think that looks good. So you can also change how many degrees you move at a time by entering your own custom rotation. So if I wanted to do 10 degrees at a time, it'll now rotate 10 degrees anytime I push these buttons. So that's one of the things that you can change. Also, now that we have the fish kind of swimming, I think I want it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hit the resize button. I'm going to make sure my aspect is locked, so my width and my height increase at the same time. And I'm just going to hit the plus button down at the bottom to kind of eyeball how it fits in my area. You can measure like I showed you before. I'm going to move it again. I think I want it swimming a little bit more downward, kind of looking at the coral maybe. So we're going to rotate it again. I think 10 degrees, that might be too much. Let's go to 5 degrees and see. Ooh, wrong way. Oh, that's nice. We'll leave it right there. That's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to hit the baseline button on the left side of my screen. That allows all of the designs, the changes I made to the design to be cemented in place. And then we're going to stitch it out. So the ProStitcher tab, my quilt button is selected. And then at the bottom of the screen, there's a run button. I'll hit that run button. It jumps up with my settings and I verify it and it'll start stitching. Pull up my bobbin thread and away we go. Do we have any questions while I'm getting this stitched out?
Do you have to put the needle down?
Do I have to put my needle down when I reposition the design? No. If I'm being very, very exact, I can drop my needle into my quilt top to make sure it starts where I want it to, or, you know, I can check it that way. But that's why we actually have the laser light on these long arms so that you know exactly where the needle is going to start. So I very rarely drop the needle down when I'm repositioning a design. Unless you're talking about moving an edge-to-edge design. Comment again if that's what you're asking about doing an edge-to-edge design, because that's a different thing. So I'm going to wait to make sure that's what we're talking about. Another question about Minky backing. Okay, is the Minky binding separate or wrapped around? So this, some people call it cheater binding, some call it the wraparound method. There's a lot of different ways you can do binding. The way that I prefer to do binding is actually doing a regular binding method with Minky fabric. And I do have a tutorial on my socials if we need to pull that up to show people. But it's basically just doing a regular binding with Minky fabric. So I still cut the Minky 2.5 inches wide and I join it like I normally would. The only thing that I do differently is I don't fold it in half. I just attach it open and raw on one side and then flip it over and fold it in half and again. Oh, the other thing I should say, when I'm doing Minky bindings, I always do a serpentine stitch. I do not do a straight stitch. The serpentine, because Minky fabric is a little bit stretchy and it's very, very silky, slicky fabric to stitch on. You want to do a serpentine stitch because it's more forgiving. It adds a little design element to it, and it it'll catch the binding if you're not being perfectly straight, if that makes sense. So, oh, another question. I love this. Okay, quilt patterns for the quilts behind me. Let me move this out of the way and I can show you. So this one with the Tula pink fabric, this is actually a pattern by Melissa Corey. This is in one of her books. I think it's called Fast and Fun Lap Quilts. I did this design specifically, this pattern, because this is using a layer cake. So I wanted to have, I love layer cakes because you can get the entire line of fabric and you don't have to buy as much, right? So this was done using a layer cake. I'll move out of the way you can see. So Melissa Corey is kind of known for her Irish chains. She loves Irish chains. And so you can see C-O-R-Y. Actually, it's 2 R's, C-O-R-R-Y. She's Happy Quilting Melissa. Happy Quilting Melissa. Anyway, I love her patterns. I do them all the time. So that's this one. And then this patriotic one over here is actually one of mine. This is a So Easy. Do I need to move the machine? Here, let me move it this way. Get it out of the way. Is that better? Okay. So this one is a So Easy block of the month. And so this one is structured. So it's a mystery block of the month. This pattern is available on my website, ladybugthreads.com. So it's got these star blocks that are fillers, and then everything else is a star block. And so, of course, you have to do it patriotic. So we have a patriotic themed quilt here using star blocks. And they're both backed in Minky. I know I already said that, but I love Minky. I use it all the time. If it's a quilt for me, it's got Minky. That's just how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna get through. I want to make sure we get the handles put on this bag, and I still have a few fun things to show you, but I don't want to take a lunch break till I'm showing you these things. So we're not going anywhere. Don't stress. But just so you know, thank you. My cord is being stuck. Perfect. Much better. Okay, so on my screen, we're going to open another design. And if we have more questions pop up, make sure you're putting them in. I love to talk all things quilting. So I've done the sea life coral and I've done the butterfly fish. So now we're going to do the clownfish. I'm going to open that one up. And remember, it popped it in right where my crosshairs were, but I want this fish to be down in the bottom right section. So I'm just dragging it with my finger directly on the screen. But I'm going to do something fun, and I'm going to flip this fish around so it's swimming the other direction, because I already have one fish swimming to the right. Nope, that's left. Swimming to the left. Okay, so the modify tab. And let's see, how do I want to do this? Oh, actually, it might be under edit. It's taken me a minute, you guys, because we're just going to play for a minute because I know it's on here and I'm forgetting where my button is. Oh, it is. It is here. It's under modify and rotate. So I'm going to go back here. So modify tab, the rotate button here on the left side, you can see it right here. That on the right hand side has two options where you can mirror or flip a design. So if I flip it, suddenly we have a dead fish. So we don't want that one, but we can mirror it, which looks a lot cuter. So I mirror the fish, and I think I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger as well. So we'll go to the resize option, and I'm just going to bump it up, making sure, again, on the right hand side of my screen, I've got the lock button on so that I can keep it the same aspect. Perfect. Okay, I want to rotate this one a little bit too. So we're going to go back to the rotate button, and we're going to make it swim a little bit upwards. There we go. Perfect. I think I want to move it a little to the left. So I'm going to, just with my finger, I'm just kind of eyeballing it where I want it to be. But I can use other options. Remember, there's so many ways to do things in ProStitcher. Okay. I think I just want to stitch it right where it is. That's pretty cute. I'm going to hit baseline. Oh, so when your baseline option is not available, because I have so many designs up on my screen, we have the button at the very bottom that deselects everything. And then on the right-hand side, it shows everything that I have up on my design space. And so we're going to select the clownfish. And now I can hit the baseline button on the left-hand side of my screen. It'll let me baseline, meaning I've saved all of the changes. As I rotate it, as I resize it, all of those changes, they're now saved, and the computer can stitch it out beautifully. We'll go to the ProStitcher tab. My quilt button is selected, and then I'll hit run and proceed. Okay, now that I have this one stitching, do we have any other questions? Don't forget, you guys definitely need to be putting in hashtag Quiltfest. If you're just joining us, you need to do hashtag Quiltfest in the comments. This is how we're doing a giveaway for $50 at handyquilter.com. You can get, let's switch the screen to see how it stitches out. Brianne, thank you. I just want you guys to see the fun part. So make sure that you're commenting hashtag Quiltfest. You have to have the hashtag in order to be entered in the giveaway, the gift giveaway. It's for $50 at handyquilter.com. And also, we are doing a sale on all accessories, 15% off. And I keep saying this because I don't want you guys to miss it. This is really good that we're having a sale going on right now. So 15% off. You have to use the code HQQF. HQQF. So there's another fun trick you can do when you're stitching out designs. Because I have all of these designs here and I've tweaked them and put them where I want them to be, I can just re-stitch the same design, but I can change my thread. So I could put on a bright yellow thread or a darker purple thread and end up stitching in the exact same path with a different thread color. And it'll kind of add an extra element, a design element to these fishies that I'm putting here. Yes, I love it. Give me a question.
Once you deselect everything, can you just touch the screen you want selected?
Okay, someone is asking, once you deselect everything on ProStitcher, can you just touch the screen to select it? Yes, you can, but it depends on how, like, the order in which everything was populated. And so sometimes it takes a couple of taps to get that design to come to the front. But yes, you can totally do it that way. If that makes sense. Let me know if that didn't make sense. I think that's good.
On the run screen, why is one button on right bottom not turned on?
Let me see. Let me go to ProStitcher run. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, like the emergency stop button? Is that what you're asking about?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, give us more details. So I'm pulling up my next design, going back to my jump drive that I have all these designs on. We're going to do a sea turtle. And I've got that one. Oh, isn't this cool? Look how this one populates so much bigger than the other fish. So that's why we love ProStitcher, because it can tweak these designs for us and make them fit where we want them to. So I'm just going to resize this. We'll bump it down. I think I'll move it back in here. Still really big. So I'm going to jump and we'll say 5 inches. That's closer. Let's go down a little bit more. Perfect. That means the turtle's far away, right? We're giving it some depth to our art. I am going to rotate this one just a little bit too. There we go. Because no, fish don't swim straight, do they? I don't know. I've never seen a fish swim. We better try it. Okay, I'm deselecting so that I can select my sea turtle. And I'm going to hit baseline on the left-hand side of my screen. Perfect. So all the changes are ready to go. And we're going to get this one stitched out too. So I do have on my screen, there is a button on the bottom right that says emergency stop. Is that? I think that's what they were talking about. So the emergency stop is there in case there are any issues. You know, if you forgot to change your needle and then your needle breaks halfway through, that's what the emergency stop is for. If suddenly there's a hole in the quilt, you can push the emergency stop. It just stops everything. So it's just a fail-safe. That's what that's there for. You can also, whenever there's something going on, I definitely do the pause button on the bottom left. Let's switch screen views to see it stitch out. Perfect. So this one with the turtle, it has a lot of little segments to the shell. So there is some restitching over previous stitch paths. That is something that some people are aware of, like when you're doing a lot of edge-to-edge quilting. Some designs take just a little longer if there's a lot of restitching over the same previous, stitch line, same path. But that's kind of necessary depending on the design you're doing so that it can move from point A to point B. So she's talking about a tie-off button. So let's see. I do a tie-off sometimes when a design finishes. Sometimes I'll do the tie-off, but it's mostly force of habit. So this right here, it's tying off. The machine is tying off on its own, and it's done all the little stitches. I think is it Gina? I think what she's asking. Force of habit. There's a button here on the left-hand side that I just automatically tie off. That's me. That's just how Shauna quilts. Is I push that button. So that button that I just pushed does several tiny stitches all at once, close together. And that does come on all of our machines except our Moxie. The Moxie does not have the tie off included. So if you're interested in the tie off button, make sure you're looking at the Amara when you're purchasing. Okay, we're going to come over. This is the fun part. I'm actually going to clear everything. And we're going to work on this block here. This one is where we get to take an edge-to-edge design and make it turn it into just one block instead of an entire edge-to-edge design. So let's look at our ProStitcher screen. I'm going to clear everything. That's the file and clear all. And then I'm going to create an area around this block. So the area tab, I'm going to do the multi-point again because I've got wonky blocks here. It's a good thing that I sewed wonky for you, isn't it? Sometimes when we try to sew wonky, it doesn't work. And then when you try to sew straight, you sew wonky. I know I'm not the only one. So on my screen, it looks like I'm not doing anything. And sometimes this stresses people out, but I definitely am. You can actually see on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand side, anytime I'm pushing this button, there's words that populate and then they slowly fall and fade out. that tells me that I'm still doing things on my screen, even if you can't see them. The reason you can't see them is I have moved over to another area of my quilt project. And so the screen is showing me where I was working before. So the way that you see what you just created, at the very bottom of the screen, there's a little house. That's your home button. If you push the home button, it shows you what you just were working on. So now I have my area here ready to play. Okay, we're gonna open another design. So File, Design, Open. And this is one of the designs that I have loaded already. This one is called Tessellation. This one is also from ProStitcher Patterns, ProStitcher.com. They have a bunch of patterns available. And you guys, all of the ones I'm using today are ProStitcher patterns. So you should definitely check them out. So this one's called Tessellation. And I'm going to open it up. And you can see that it's a circle, but it has a bunch of these little bubbles down in the bottom right. That's because this is for an edge-to-edge design. So I'm going to show you what it looks like as an edge-to-edge design. Don't stress out. I'm really just like populating really fast so you guys can see what it would look like. Here we go. We're going to take the gap down. So this is what it would look like if we did it as an edge-to-edge design on a quilt, and which is gorgeous. It has these circles. It's got the little bubbles filling in between. And again, I told you I love doing quilting circles with ProStitcher because when you have computerized circles, they are just so perfect. They look so good. So, but we're not going to do this as a edge-to-edge design. So I'm actually just hitting my undo button. On the left-hand side of the screen, there's an undo button. So when you're playing around with designs and you're just trying to figure out what you like and how it looks, I'm just hitting my undo button a bunch of times to get me back to 0.0. Perfect. So I'm going to just drag this here in the middle and see how it fits. And then I can see all of these circles that I don't really want. So I'm going to actually come over here. So I've stitched this design out before, so I know how it stitches out. So I'm going to move my crosshairs so you can kind of see. It stitches up like this. It goes up and around, does the top half of the circle, and then it comes down and does all of these little circles down here. So if I just come right here before this start point, and I change the start point, I'm going to go to the ProStitcher tab, and I'm going to hit New Start and End. And then on the right-hand side, there's a button called Auto. That puts it automatically puts a start point where my crosshairs are. So I turn it on, say I want the start point there, and then I'm going to deselect so when I move the machine, the start point doesn't wander around with my crosshairs, right? And then we're actually going to crop around my start point. So I'm going to go to Modify, and then I have this crop button directly underneath it. And on the right-hand side, there's several different options for cropping. There's a start and end point. So if I hit crop like this, it takes out all of those excess circles that I didn't want in the bottom. So that's really cool. We got that, and we can size it up, size it down. I'm actually going to leave it just like that. I'm going to hit baseline, and then I'm going to pull in another design. So on the File tab, Design, Open, I'm going to go to the ProStitcher library under Designs. And then it's the PS designs. These are, again, all the designs that come with ProStitcher. So when you buy them, nope, sorry, we're going under blocks. When you buy ProStitcher, you'll have all of these designs available. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to use this circle. Open my circle, and it's really kind of cool. I can get it to resize, right? All of these things we've been doing before. I can get it to resize, and I can eyeball it or I can measure it. And then I can drag it over on top of this design, bump it up just a little bit. But after I have it kind of sized how I want, then I'm going to hit the Align button, and it's going to move it. I'm aligning it to the area. That's the pink square on the screen. So I'm going to hit Center. So you can see it moves that design down, but it didn't move the other one. That's where we select the other design, and we hit Align on that one as well. So Modify, Align, and on the right-hand side, we have the Center button, and that's going to center them both perfectly. Now I'm going to hit Baseline, and because I like to have a space between my designs, I'm not actually going to tell them to stitch at the same time. I want to stitch one and then the other. So design it, and then we're going to run. So ProStitcher tab, I have to select my quilt button and then my run button, and we'll get it quilting. But it is possible that you can tell it to stitch the designs together. It will just have a long thread connecting from the start point to the start point, which we can do. It's just kind of a personal preference. So we're going to get a nice big circle here on our quilt project. Let's switch to our quilt project. Brienne, thank you. So it's doing just a really nice big circle. And because I kept when I resized it, I kept the height and the width locked. So this really is a perfect circle. Makes me so happy. Okay, I'm trying really hard not to push the tie off button. It's funny the things that are force of habit that you don't even realize. I really do push that button all the time. I hope it didn't confuse anyone. Okay, so we got that one stitched. Now on my ProStitcher screen, I'm just going to select the other design. I'm going to hit baseline. Actually, we're going to clear all so that I can make sure that I can get the right one. Whoops, I've pushed too many times. Come on. There we go. Perfect. Now, ProStitcher, quilt, and run. Let me move this over. Perfect. The other thing about doing designs this way is you can actually reuse this design. If you have multiple blocks that you want to be putting this design in, you can just tweak it once like this and then reposition around your quilt and drag the design with you where you go, which is really fun. How did I tell the machine to do the circle first? So they were actually two separate designs, and I just did the trick where you have to have one design selected and one design unselected. So I just selected the circle. On my screen, when it's selected, it's a dark line. When it's deselected, the design is grayed out. And so I just selected the circle first and then told ProStitcher to run. So I can show you, after this stitch is out, I can show you where that is on the screen. Remember, we're doing hashtag Quiltfest for a $50 gift card giveaway to handyquilter.com. And you can use it for anything on the website, right? Anything? Yes, anything on the website. So for me, if I were getting the gift card, I would buy batting scissors. I seriously love those. I use them all the time. And I like to crawl around on the floor when I'm cutting my batting. I know some people don't love that. But I just roll my batting out on the floor and cut it. And I love these scissors because it cuts my batting, but it does not cut my carpet. There's a little kind of like nubbin thing on the end of these scissors. So they're one of my very favorite things. And if I had $50 to spend, that's what I would spend it on. But you can get it on, you could do rulers, you could get it on anything. So one of the reasons, again, we're talking ProStitcher, right? One of the reasons you should consider ProStitcher is if you want to have these really exact designs that are stitched out on your quilt. Because look, these circles and these swirls, they just look so good. They are just on point, right? They look amazing. And ProStitcher does that for you. Now, if you can't afford ProStitcher right up front, you should still get the long arm, and then you can do a bunch with rulers. Rulers are always an option. And that's where the $50 gift card comes in, that you could get a ruler set and start playing as soon as you get it there. You know, get the machine out of the box and start playing with rulers. You do need to have a ruler base if you are going to be, well, let me move over this way. You do need a ruler base if you're going to be doing rulers. And I'm going to show you these scissors after it's done stitching, but I just really want to, it's my favorite part, watching it stitch. What speed am I stitching at? Okay, this is a great question. So on your ProStitcher, can you switch to the ProStitcher screen? On the right-hand side, we have a couple of different, I'll touch just above it so you can see. So that speed percent is currently set to 54, and the acceleration percent is set to 24. So some people love to run their machines really fast. You can bump it up really, really high. I prefer to be usually between 60 and 70 for my speed percent, but I also watch based on my pattern. If I have a pattern that has a lot of angles, you know, that it has to go into a corner and out of a corner, I slow that down. But if it's a circle design, then I definitely can go a little bit faster because there's not as much stopping and starting. That was a great question. We have such a good group of quilters. You guys are so smart. pattern instructions for the bag, no, but I can talk it through with you if you'd like to write them down. So these blocks, really fast, let's talk batting scissors, and then I'll tell you the design for the bag. So batting scissors, which one do you want? Right here? Here, I'm gonna move the machine. There we go. So these are the handy batting scissors, and you can kind of see here at the top, there's like this little bit of a nubbin thing. That is why I love these, because I can cut my batting on the floor and I don't cut my carpet, but it cuts my batting, which is absolutely amazing. I also love them that they have this funny angle. Some people look at it and they're like, oh, that's going to be hard to figure out and hard to use. And it's actually not. You use them exactly like regular scissors, but it helps you have the clear view to be able to cut all of the batting, because the batting's pretty thick. We all know that. So these are my favorite. This is what I would spend my gift card on if I won. So to our winners, or to our winner who's coming up soon, you have to make sure that you've entered the giveaway by doing hashtag Quiltfest. So drop my needle, swing away. This is how I'm pulling up my bobbin thread. Good. Okay, so for a pattern for this bag, this tote bag, I'll hold it up again so you can kind of see. This is the tote bag that we're going for, right? So this is the sample that has all of the fishies done. We've got all of our fishies here. This tote bag, I did a center block that was 12.5 cut. So it finishes out to roughly 12, unless you're not good at seams, like I was trying to make it crooked, right? So 12-inch block, so 12.5 cut this. And then look down here, I have 3 different sashes. So this one is 4.5, this one's 8.5, this one's 4.5. So then when you put it together, you're going to have this design centered on the bag. And then at the top, this is just a 2.5-inch strip of sashing. And at the bottom, this one we did really big. I want to say this one was also 8.5. Actually, no, we're going to measure, because I have my handy dandy long arm right here. So I'm going to put my needle here on this edge of the sashing. Let's go on the project. So I'm going to put my needle right here on this edge of the sashing. And then on the screen, I just push the measure button and then move my needle directly to the side. And it tells me that it is 8 inches. So with seam allowance, the center one is 8.5 inches. Yep, I was right. So that's how you make this bag. And now we're going to hurry and throw on some handles. Do we have time to do handles? I really want to. Perfect. Okay, good. So let me get some scissors out here so we can cut them. When it comes to me and my projects, I really like to do kind of whatever. That's how I measure. Whatever. So when I did this one, these handles are at the very top. I attached them here at the very top. So I did them shorter so that it could be tucked nice and tight. That's really how I was like, that's good. That's good. So that's how we measured it. So for those of you that need to know, though, we can measure it and tell you exactly how big they are. So I'm just measuring along the sample that I already have. I'm just cutting it. And then I'll cut a second one. Perfect. You know what? We should measure with our long arm. Let's do that. That's going to be fun. Really fast. Okay, so now I have 2 handles. I'm going to lay them down here on my project, just so we can measure it and tell people the size to do. All right, so I line up my needle at the very edge of this side, looking down here on my project. Thank you. So the needle at the very edge of this side, I push the measure button on my screen, and I just come all the way over here. And my screen is telling me that this is a 25-inch strap. So we're going to place these here at the top. And when I made the sample, I did them just here on the very edges of this block. Perfect. Want to make sure. So what I was checking here, I was making sure that my project was in the throat space so that I could stitch these. Otherwise, I would just move the project down just a smidge. But so I'm going to place them here and make sure that your straps are not like twisted. If they're twisted, you're going to have to do some unpicking, reverse sewing as we call it. And I can totally pin them in place. So while I'm working, they won't wander. But when it comes to actually stitching, I very, very, very rarely actually stitch over pins with my long arm. I would never suggest doing it. But there are some people that say it's okay, but I'm not one of them. So I would not suggest it. All right, I've got my straps here, pinning it in place just to kind of hold it. The other thing about this, if this is too far away for you to work, you can see I'm kind of like leaning over the frame. If this is too far away for you to work on, you can totally pull this closer to you to stitch it. That's the wonderful thing about long arms is we have such a big throat space. There's so much space to work in. Okay. I've got that one pinned. I'm not pinning the first one because that's where we're going to work. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to freehand stitch some lines. I'm going to do a square design with some X's in the middle. So I'm going to turn off my gears using the ProStitcher screen. I'll turn off my gears. So my gears are disengaged now. And that's just so that it's a little bit easier for me to do the diagonal stitches. I really struggle when the gears are turned on. I really struggle to do stitches, I guess, a seam on the diagonal. I am not excelling at that. Okay, so I'm literally just stitching a square just like that. And I'm probably going to go around a couple times to make sure it's really secure. And I do have my gears turned off. Okay, and then this is where I do my tie off button on the left handlebar. That's the force of habit that I do. All right, swing away, pick up my bobbin thread, come back forward. Oop, drop in my scissors. And we trim it all. Perfect. Do we have any other questions while we're finishing up this bag? I want to make sure we get all our questions answered. Nope. Okay, that's all right. Right here, again, I'm just eyeballing it. But if we wanted to be really specific and really exact, we actually could stitch tiny squares using ProStitcher. And we could use the measure tool that I've been showing you. That's the wonderful thing about all of this is there's so many ways to use ProStitcher. Stitch, and then I do my diagonal. Okay, my tie off button. I swing away, pick up my top thread, come back to my end point, and I do a needle down, needle up, and swing away. And then I trim. And you'll notice when I'm doing just a lot of little stitching like this, I'm actually leaving my tail when I start so that and look, I'm moving my pins. We don't want pins where we're going, right? I leave my tail threads when I'm starting because then I can just trim everything all at once. But that is also a personal preference. You could totally just stitch a few, like do a few stitches away and then.
What is the material for the straps?
Say that again?
The material for the straps.
The material for the straps, this is just like a nylon webbing. I would say you could get it at a big box store, but I don't know where you get it now. I know there's several places online that you can get it, but this is just like a strap webbing. And I actually have seen a really, really cute version of this that has like a stripe down the middle from Tula Pink. I'm pretty sure it was Tula Pink. On the diagonal. Okay, now I'm going to do my tie off button, swing away, pick up my bobbin thread, needle down, needle up. And I'm also leaving my scissors down here while I'm doing this. But do that at your own risk because sometimes it's easy to kind of lose things. But if you're someone who is not going to be worried about scissors in your space, that's fine. It kind of depends on what your comfort level is, right? But I'm watching where my scissors are so it doesn't bother me. Okay. Sometimes I also like to start with a needle down to help hold my machine where I'm starting. That's also a personal preference. I definitely do that when I'm doing a lot of free motion quilting. Oh my goodness, you guys, did you see? I left the pin. Good thing I didn't stitch over it. Okay, now we can finish stitching. Okay, do the diagonal stitch. Okay, I'm going to do a tie off and then I swing away, come back, needle down, needle up, swing away, and snip my thread. And then we're good to go. We've got our project done.
We wanted the finished length
Oh, so the finished length is 25 inches.
on the strap.
Yes, because, if we look here at the straps, the finished length is 25 inches. So from this end all the way to this end, we laid the whole thing out here and measured. It was 25 inches. So from this bottom of the seam here to the bottom of the seam here, it's going to be a 25-inch strap. So if you want to know like where, like from the top of the bag, we could measure that for you real fast. I love that you ladies are asking this, you quilters, I should say, because we have so many great ideas. We want to be able to use them all, right? Where's my measure tape? There it is. Okay. So I'm going to measure it now from the top of the bag. It's probably going to be about 22. What do you think? Because we've got a little bit taken up in there. So 20 if I'm going top to top. But if I'm going from this edge of the strap to this edge of the strap, it was 25 when I cut it. So, all right. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
We've got good questions. 24. Okay, how do I handle the raw edges when I remove it from the quilting frame? Let's turn this inside out and talk about that again. So, here we go, inside out. Perfect. So I have not finished my edges yet because I left this so that I could show you guys how I boxed it, right? So there's a couple ways you can handle it though. And I pressed these open. Let me turn this way, sorry. I had these open as I stitched this long seam to box my corners, just so that I wouldn't have a lot of bulk here. So there's a couple ways you could do it. You could do a French seam, is that what it's called? Where you can come in and cover this. You can also just do like a binding cover. Come and do like a little binding around, around this section here. You can also just leave it open because it is stitched well enough. But I know some people don't like to have like a raw edge inside of a bag. Sorry, I was scratching my eye. So there's a couple ways that you could finish it. You could even just come in and do like a fusible, like iron something on to cover it. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. So next question. Someone asked if I pieced originally on the frame or if I used a domestic machine. I actually pieced this on my domestic, but this is a project simple enough. You could piece it directly on your long arm. We've done some strip piecing on the long arm before. So I would just recommend, so if we look at this section here, if we were going to piece it on the long arm down here on my project, so we have this tiny strip here. I would stitch that strip down. And then I would have this, I still would build this section on a regular domestic, but you could sew these 5 pieces together like this, and then put it upside down, right sides together, and stitch a long seam here, fold it down, and then stitch it down and add your bottom sashing. So you really could build it on the long arm if you wanted to.
There's a raw edge where you stitch down the handles. Do you leave that raw or do you tuck something or do you use glue or something?
Okay, someone is asking about the raw edge on the handles here. So here on this bag, there's a raw edge here. I just stitch a bunch of times here to make sure that it's stitched down. I did not fold this one under because if I fold this one is really, really thick, and I didn't want to have a really thick edge just right here. You could though, if depending on the length of your handle, if you wanted to stitch it under and have it be the full, like the full thickness of where you're stitching, you could fold it under. That's a personal preference. That one doesn't really matter. So.
A lot of people want to buy the pattern. A lot of people need to email you for you to make the pattern.
So this, if we need this made into a pattern, you need to be watching. It will be posted. I'll post it on ladybugthreads.com. I can get the pattern put up for you. And I'll include all of the ProStitcher designs. I'll have those listed, not included to buy in the pattern, but I'll have them listed so that you know where to purchase them. And I can have pictures of it for you too. So I guess I'm going to send it to Brianne so you can send it out in an email. Does that work, Brianne? Well, so they know when it's available. Yeah. Okay, so when it's available, you're going to get an email from Handy Quilter. You're going to go to my website, ladybugthreads.com. We're going to have this pattern. I did not realize you guys were going to love it so much, but I will definitely have the pattern for you. I'll have all of the dimensions. So people who have been scribbling furiously, you can stop now. I'll have everything written out. I'll have all of the dimensions, all the measurements, so you don't have to worry about it. And I can include pictures on how to finish the inside. So that is our cute little bag. Make sure you guys are watching, though. We're going to be working on 3 other projects this afternoon. Should I tease them what we've got coming? Okay, so we're going to be working on popsicles. We love popsicles because it's summertime. We're going to be doing a popsicle table runner. I've got some placemats, and then I've got a door hanger. So stick around. We've got a lot going. We want to make sure and tell you before we leave, because we're going to go have a little bite to eat, and then we'll be back on. So remember, free shipping on machines for this week when you buy a machine. And Kim said, she was on here earlier, she said that when you buy a machine, that's a several $100s worth of savings because they're big machines. They come on a pallet. So you're going to get free shipping when you buy a machine. And we're really encouraging this. Oh, yes, you need to call us. Call us to get the free shipping. Do we have the phone number up? We're going to put up the phone number so you can call us for free shipping. And it's just if you're going direct through Handy Quilter, that's how you get the free shipping. Prices are going up on July 1st. We want to make sure you're aware of this. That's why we're doing this now, so that you can get the machine that you want and you can get the free shipping. This week only is free shipping. So make sure you're calling the number that we've got up for you guys. And remember, we do have a sale on accessories. We're doing 15% off with the code HQQF. Okay, HQQF. That's the code for the accessories, for the sale on the accessories. And are we doing our giveaway? Is it time for the giveaway? It's time for the giveaway. Okay, so remember, we've been talking this whole time through hashtag Quiltfest for our giveaway. So we're going to pull this up. We're running it through our little giveaway engine here. I get to watch this and see. The winner, Judy Perigo. Perigo? Sorry, Judy, if I missed that. Judy, you need to, how does she get the gift card? Okay, Judy, email spotlight@handyquilter.com so you can claim your gift card. I'm so excited. I hope you get the batting scissors. They are my favorite. If you don't get batting scissors, I still love you. It's okay. But the batting scissors are really that awesome. Okay. Are we good to go? I'm tripping over here. Okay, we'll see you guys 1:15. 1:15 we'll be back for some more fun stuff.